Hey, welcome back guys. Right here is the brand new Infinix S5. Now I've had this phone for a couple of days since it was launched and I've been using it, and I think I have a couple of things I need to tell you or I need to let you know before the phone goes into sales. I think it will start selling in about a week's time or so. So let's check them out. So thank you so much for those of you who are already subscribers on the channel. I sure appreciate it. Now, if you're new here, my name is Kingsley. I'm a certified IT technician. I do a lot of tech reviews. I talk about technology and I talk about gadgets. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, alright, so that you'll be able to see more awesome content like this one in the future, okay? As you guys already know, the Infinix S4 and the Infinix Note 6 were actually two of my favorite devices from Infinix of 2019. You know, I like the Infinix Note 6 for a couple of reasons, because it had some good features and for the price you were paying for it. And then I like the Infinix S4 because of the cameras and a couple of things that it could do for the price you were paying for it, of course, with some little exceptions. And then here we are about 5 or 6 months later looking at the brand new Infinix S5. The Infinix S5 actually comes in two variants. You have the Infinix S5 and the Infinix S5 Lite. Now, even the S5 itself has two variants. You have a 128GB version that has 6 gigs of RAM, and you have a 64GB version that has 4 gigs of RAM. And then for the S5 Lite, you have a 64GB version that has 4 gigs of RAM, and you have the S5 Lite 32GB version that has 3 gigs of RAM. One thing you have to note here is that the Infinix S5 has exactly the same spec as the Infinix S4. You know, the same Hello P22 processor, the same graphics card, the same CPU and GPU that is running on the S4 is what is still running on the S5. But the only difference here is that on the S5 you're getting more options in terms of the specs, which is kind of surprising because one would expect like the new Infinix S5 is supposed to have maybe an improved processor or an improved graphics card or something, but no, this is still the same spec like the old one, so you have to be able to live with that. And another thing is that one thing you have to understand about the Infinix and Tecno phones of 2019 is that all of them look actually the same. You know, the design is almost 50-50. Sometimes from a distance you might not be able to tell which one is the Phantom 9 or which one is the S5 or which one is the Camon 12. All of them have exactly the same feel, the same look and everything. And another thing here is that the S5 still comes with the regular fingerprint sensor externally. I was expecting to see an optical fingerprint sensor, but that's not the case here. You still have a regular fingerprint sensor. And then you're still not getting a USB-C, you're getting a regular USB port. And also you still get a headphone jack, and then you get regular speakers, not stereo speakers down there. But the thing I like about the design is the massive size. You know, I'm a guy that likes phones that have big displays and big sizes, so this thing actually fits into my palm perfectly well, and I kind of like that. One of the biggest difference of the Infinix S5 from the S4 is the display. Now, one thing I like about this display is that the display is very massive. When I say massive, I don't really mean like massive. This display is 6.6 inches, which is just about 4 inches larger than the previous model of the Infinix S4. But one thing that makes this display look extraordinarily large is the fact that it doesn't have a teardrop notch anymore. It has a hole punch display where the camera lies, and that actually makes every device looks awesome. That is what makes the Galaxy S10e stand out from every other phone. That is what makes the phones like the Huawei V20 stand out from other devices. You know, whether you like the hole punch design or not is a matter of personal preference. Like personally, I don't like the block style notch that comes in the iPhones and most of the 2019 and 2018 phones. And I also don't like the teardrop style notch, even though I prefer it to the block style notch. The hole punch display is actually very nice because you can actually use it to create some designs. You know, if you don't like it, fine. You can just get a couple of wallpapers like I did here, and you can see this thing makes the display actually look nice. You know, I kind of like it. For those of you who will eventually buy this device when it drops the market in a week's time, you might be asking, where do you get this kind of wallpapers? You can actually use the wallpapers for the Huawei Honor View 20. That's the wallpapers I used, and it actually turned out to work well on the Infinix S5. So some of you might ask, how is the quality of the display? Well, honestly, if I'm going to be sincere with you, the quality of the display is nothing different from the Infinix S4. It's still the same kind of display, just a little bit larger and a different kind of design, you know. And I was actually thinking that they were going to upgrade this display to maybe an AMOLED display. But again, that didn't happen. And also, you have to understand that the price you're paying for this thing might not have covered them using an AMOLED display for this thing, so I can actually understand that. But at best, this is almost like recycling the old Infinix S4 into a new device. And then there are also other things here that I don't like about this display. And one of them is the fact that this display is still a 720p display. I mean, come on, man. These devices can't keep being the same devices every year. Let them be, like a major improvement in something. I mean, even if it's on the display. For those of you who have been on this channel for a while, you guys know me by now. I'm all about performance. I'm not really about specs. Specs can be good on paper. From my experience, you can have the best specs on paper, but the device can still perform as a mediocre. So this device runs on Android 9 Pie with the Tecno iOS skin on it. Now, the operation, the device is still very bulky like it has always been with all the Tecno and Infinix phones of 2019. There is still a lot of bloatwares on it. Straight up from the box, you get 50 apps pre-installed, which is kind of crazy. I've complained about this severally. But the good news is that most of these junk applications that come inside this device can be uninstalled. So you just have to go inside the settings if you buy the device eventually and make sure you uninstall almost everything you can find there that it's uninstallable, so that you'll be able to use your device smoothly. One of my recent addictions has actually been PUBG. I've been playing that game like crazy. So when I saw this phone and I saw the massive size of the display, one of the things that happened was my eyes lit up. I was like, man, this phone is going to be good for gaming. And then I actually downloaded PUBG and installed it, and I was ready to go to war. First of all, the game loaded a bit slow, which was okay. I was fine with that. I couldn't complain. And then when you start playing, the device, it's a little bit slow when you're playing PUBG on it, even at the lowest resolution. Now, what I noticed was in the battleground, when you play and play and play, at some point the device actually slows down a lot, and then it recovers back and you start. And sometimes if you're in the middle of some heavy shooting or some heavy fighting, before the device slows down and recover, somebody has already assassinated you, and that is crazy. And then another observation here was that the device, after playing PUBG for like 15-20 minutes, the device was actually super hot. So I had to stop playing and allowed it to cool down and start the game afresh. So these are my observations for those of you that will be buying this device because of the gaming. The device actually heats up after when you play this game for like 20-30 minutes. It heats up beyond comprehension, so you have to shut down the game and stuff like that. But though you can actually enjoy the game on this phone because of the massive size of the display, and I didn't try other games out, you know, maybe I can make another video specially talking about gaming, but this is my experience with PUBG specifically that I play at the moment. So now for the part most of you have been waiting for, which is the cameras. Now this thing comes with a quad camera setup. That means it has 4 cameras. So you get a 16 megapixel main wide angle lens, and then you get a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle lens. You get a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and then the newest kind of sensor to the setup is the macro lens. Now, I explained to you guys in an earlier video I did that the macro lens is a kind of lens that photographers actually use to get details up close and personal, like maybe you are doing food photography or you are shooting pictures and videos of very tiny objects. The macro lens, or the macro lens rather, is going to help you catch those things in great details. And then for the selfie camera, you're still getting a 32 megapixel selfie camera just like you got on the Infinix S4. So basically I was actually more interested in testing out the macro lens, which is the only thing that to me is like the main addition to the camera setup there. Now I tested it outside. In daylight or in broad daylight outside, the macro lens was almost useless. But when I was in the house, like under my studio light, under the big softbox that I used to shoot my videos, I actually went really close to the back sensor of my Galaxy S9 Plus, and it actually did a very good job of capturing the details, even though it was not that great. But I mean, you can't really complain. How much are you paying for this thing? $175? So it's not something you can really complain about. So as usual, Wisdom and I took the device out on a spin on a weekend, and we went to different parts of town as usual to take different photos under different conditions, so you guys can actually see what these cameras will actually behave like. Well, the cameras are actually good, like they're good enough, but I don't really like the fact that things are actually blown out too much. You know, mostly on the selfie camera you have overblown highlights and stuff like that. And then the portrait mode is honestly nothing different from what we have had in the previous Infinix S4. So here are a couple of pictures we took under different conditions, different situations. Do let me know down in the comments, do you actually like this camera? Do you actually like the camera performance? I would like to hear from you guys, all right? Down in the comment section. You can come hang out with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all right? My name is T Kingsley, and I guess I'll catch you again in the next one.